if you're doing, doesn't that, kind of indicate that you.
Okay, I'm sorry we're running a little late here. We had to do some IT stuff. I hereby call this Sawyer County Zoning Committee meeting to order. I ask that you please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices, and out of respect for the committee and the public, please note that the signs prohibiting members from the public approaching the committee table. If you have information to share with the committee, fill out your slips and then put them in the tray, and then they will be picked up and presented to the chairman. You may also email committee members additional information. So does everybody have all their slips filled out that they want to talk to on a specific agenda item? If you're an applicant, you do not have to fill one out. Okay.
These are in, there's multiple.
Okay. All right. All right, Kathy, can we do roll call, please?
Yes. Ron Buckholz.
Present.
Tweet Schuman. Absent. Kay Wilson. Dale Magnuson.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Steve Carriennen.
Here. Okay, thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number C, the statement of committee hearing and procedure statement of hearing notice. The full statement of this committee and hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak on at a public hearing to be conducted at the zoning committee meeting, are available in the back of the room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing documents is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes in Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette, published on June 4th, 2025. All right, number D, moving on here, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, please?
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from May 16th.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Kirianen and a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries to approve. All right, public comment. We have one. Linda, state your name and address, please.
I didn't put the mic up there. It's in the charts.
Thank you.
Linda Zolmer, property owner in the town of Edgewater, Sawyer County, resident of the village of Birchwood. Earlier this month, maybe even to May, I brought to the committee's attention via email that the information about this public hearing, as well as the option F camping cabins, was not posted to the county website until June 2nd, and the first insertion of the Class 2 notice did not appear until June 3rd. And town plan commissions and town board hold their meeting in the first week of June. I believe Town of Hayward has not formally acted on their conditional use permit items, and I would hope you would postpone that. But beyond that, I guess in light of, I know Mr. Buckholz attended the BOA hearing, and I saw maybe some other members were watching virtually. I want you to really consider today how you conduct your public hearing. And what should have happened at the BOA was a review of the 5 certiorari standards. So if you go and find those, it's already too late for today, but think about how your decisions would be judged in light of those factors. And when it comes down to the findings of fact, I was so glad that one of the attorneys mentioned that this findings of fact 1 through 14 is rather arbitrary. Findings of fact, I believe, and I've raised this before, should be considered individually. I also would ask you that when you watch the BOA hearing, that you jump to the end, because I don't know, I know Mr. Buckholz left, but Attorney Sorensen explained as honestly as I've ever heard what the role of the attorney is who is representing their client. And I guess the question is who's the client? Is it the public interest in enforcement of the zoning ordinances, or is it just defending a decision? Because I hope that when one of the matters that's being remanded back to you, you will also consider bringing back the deck that's in violation of your camping ordinance and your zoning ordinance in the town of Ojibwa. That one, I do not believe that those attorneys were fairly heard. The decisions are what they were, but then the other thing is I will not probably be here for the end, but there will be a discussion on establishing maybe a moratorium. But in addition to that, I would say that use this opportunity, as long as you're going through the work, to also develop ordinances for campgrounds, as well as on private lots, livestock siting, data centers, landfills, and sanitary districts. There's a lot of stuff that is probably of greater importance than the solar panel and things that have been put on the side for a long time. So, and then in camping option F, please take note, it's not just a count of the towns, but the towns with the largest campgrounds and the towns with several campgrounds both voted it down for various reasons. And please read into the record what those reasons were. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want a public comment? There, state your name and address, please. It's not on an agenda item, right?
CUP. Conditional use permit?
Are you an applicant?
No, I'm not.
Well then,
You're gonna wait on,
you can wait till that
Okay.
CUP comes up and then talk. Sorry. All right,
General comment?
yes.
I'm Tanya Eitzenhofer. I reside in the township of Hayward, and I propose that we add a
Excuse me, ma'am, can you put your address in there, please, for us?
10193 Ann Leaf Ridge.
Okay.
I'm proposing that we add to the roads section of zoning a good neighbor provision that would state something in line of, an owner of residential property shall, before being issued a permit for subdividing, provide within the subdivider's property a roadworthy 66-foot right-of-way for road and accompanying easements without encroaching on any neighbor's properties, access for any lots and remaining parcel that do not currently have access to an existing road. So I've tried to go through all your zoning, and I don't find clarity that a property owner would have to provide the road within his own property that he's subdividing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, if not, number 3, Jay, we don't have no rezones, so we'll go on to number 4.
Yeah, and I know we're not supposed to answer public comment. But Tanya, if you wouldn't mind getting back in touch with me after this meeting or maybe early part of next week, I'd love to further discuss what you're describing there as well. So thank you. Conditional use permit applications, public hearing in the town of Lenroot, conditional use permit number 25-038. Owner is the town of Lenroot. This is part of the southwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, parcel 014-942-36-2305 and 2312. That is tax ID 18837 and 18844. It is 8.48 total acres, zone residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for the construction of a 24 by 36 single-story storage building with a cement floor. The structure is to be located on the 1 acre parcel near the existing outhouse, to be used to house the pontoon boat and buoy used to regulate boat traffic on Nelson Lake. In the future, it could also house equipment for a potential park to be developed on the 7 acre parcel and a boat washing station equipment should it be needed if invasive species are found in Nelson Lake. The building would be owned by the town of Lenroot, but constructed by the Nelson Lake Association with financial support from the town and Nelson Lake Resort Association. This is per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 16, as a storage area in conjunction with a public park, playground, or water sport area. As part of my staff report, again, this is a permit desired for a 24 by 36 storage building. Again, to house a pontoon boat and buoys to regulate Nelson Lake boat traffic, as well as potential aquatic invasive species housing, also to be used in conjunction with the potential future park and recreation area. Again, the applicant is requesting to build a 864 square foot building that is owned by the town, but does not contain a residence or a dwelling, nor is it zoned commercial. In conversations with the applicant, which is the town chair, the structure is to be used as a storage area for the Lake Association, but would also again have future potential uses as further or as previously described. This is a semi-unique request in that the property is currently zoned RR1 and does not contain a dwelling, nor would it in the future. Initially, it was described to the town that perhaps a rezone to the C1 would be the most appropriate zone district to have this as a permitted structure. However, in conversations with the town, they were reluctant to want to rezone this to commercial 1. After those preliminary conversations, it was agreed by the town and Sawyer County Zoning Conservation Administrator, myself, that a conditional use permit could be requested within the RR1 zone district as a use described for the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 16, for a public park, playground, or water sports area. With approval of this type of use, it would also require and the now viewed storage building as being the primary or principal structure on the lot for that anticipated use. This is a similar mentality if someone was to request for a smokehouse in an agricultural zone district. The use of the smokehouse requires a conditional use permit approval, and approval of the CUP would allow them to construct that building. As list of potential conditions, no habitable area would be allowed within this structure, including beds, bedrooms, or kitchen facilities. No commercial use or operation is allowed in the structure. Size of the proposed structure not to exceed 1,000 square feet, although it is only anticipated 864. I put it just to give a little flexibility. And 1 story. Additional square footage added outside of the requested amount to provide additional flexibility for the town, as I just described. Must follow all other town, county, state, federal laws. A Sawyer County land use permit is required prior to the construction or placement of the building. A site address is required for the property. The approved use of a public park, playground, and water sport area includes approval to construct said building for additional Nelson Lake Association storage and use. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Gordy Christians, town chair, Michael Bandro, supervisor, Jack Schustrom, supervisor, Brent Danielson, supervisor, Jason Schustrom, supervisor. No additional comments. Signed Robert Eberhold, town clerk. There were 16 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 were returned with additional comments. That is all.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-038, please.
I will make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And we have a second by Ms. Wilson to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-038. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are now in public hearing. Mr. Christensen, you want to speak?
I'm Gordy Christians, the chairman for the town of Lenroot. Town of Lenwood has a long history of working with their local nonprofits, and this is another case of that. The Nelson Lake Association removes and handles the buoys for the Nelson Lake, and they have purchased a pontoon boat, and they need a place to store it. And so we agreed to provide the facility to store that building and the buoys and a number of other things, and I won't go into more rehash of what Jay just went through. I guess I'm basically here for any questions.
Okay.
More than anything.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Christensen? None? Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this CUP? Okay, if not, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-038, please.
Make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson, a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-038. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Wait, no. This is the discussion action, Town of Lenroot, conditional use permit number 25-038, owner Town of Lenroot. Legal description is previously read into record. Request is for the placement of a 24 by 36 single-story storage building to be used for the Nelson Lake Association boating equipment as per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 16, as a storage area in conjunction with a public park, playground, or water sports area.
Okay,
Keeping in mind my staff report for listing of potential conditions and findings of facts.
okay. All right, committee, I turn it over to you.
I'll make a motion to approve CUP number 25-038 with the findings of facts. One, for promoting, what was it? Promoting the health, public safety, and convenience, general welfare regards to the park they plan on building, including the convenience for lake safety as it is housing boat and buoys to promote boat safety. Number two, as it follows the Glenroot Township comprehensive plan as if they probably pass it on their own property. Number five, to ensure recreational facilities within the planned park. And then the last one was 13, provides healthy surroundings for family life for the park that they want to build.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky.
With the conditions set forth in Jay's staff report.
Yep. And a second by Mr. Magnuson to approve CUP number 25-038. Any more discussion? Yes.
Just to let the record reflect too, that Jay's staff report, because it's in your packet, is also incorporated into your record. So great job doing the findings of fact, but also just for purposes of the record, the full staff report and all the application materials are also included. Thank you.
And just to clarify, moving forward, findings of facts, we have to list which ones now after the last Board of Appeals meeting, correct?
Yeah, and do you want me to briefly address that?
Yeah, I guess now, yeah, because they they need to understand
Okay.
what's going on here.
That's correct. It is important to articulate the findings of fact as you just did, in going through the list and then identifying what number that is on the list and then giving a brief reason. But I also want to point out that your record, if it goes up to appeal, is the full record. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that everyone understands that the staff report, all of the application materials, all of that is part of the record. And so, there's many counties and courts have recognized that even if you don't have that full robust discussion and give very specific findings of fact, it still passes legal muster. But even though it passes legal muster, I think it is very good practice to give more facts and also to have the robust discussion. Also keeping in mind too, meetings efficiency. That's why some counties will zip through things very quickly just for purposes of efficiency.
Yeah.
So I think you're finding a healthy balance.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve CUP number 25-038 with the findings of facts as presented. Any more discussion? If not, roll call, Kathy, please.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Kate Wilson.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Yes.
Steve Carrianen.
Yes.
All in favor. Thank you.
This is a public hearing in the town of Hayward, conditional use permit number 25-039, owner Waypro LLC, part of the northwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, part of the southwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, lot 1 of CSM number 7724, and part of the northwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, parcel 010-841-352204 and 2208 and 2211. That is tax IDs 11740, 40822, 40825. It is 11.74 total acres zoned to agricultural 2. Permit is desired for the amendment of conditional use permit number 18-002 for a new owner and also to allow tourist rooming house guests of the owner's rental properties not to exceed 8 rentals to have ability to use the Gulf facility. This is per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.5, Parent B, Parent 20. As part of my staff report, again, this permit is desired to amend conditional use permit number 18-002 for new owners of the golf course facility and also to allow for up to 8 tourist rooming house guests to use the golf course facility. That would be 8 separate properties and those guests associated with those properties. Again, this is per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances under Section 17.5, Parent B, Parent 20 for a golf course. On March 19th, 2018, previous owners James and Diane Klugnes were approved a conditional use permit, which is 18-002, for a golf course at the property listed above. As part of the conditions associated with this approval, it was indicated that the conditional use permit be valid for the current owner of the property, which is the Klugneses, and only to be used by the owner and friends and family. The property has since sold, and the new owners are seeking an amendment to the previous conditions. The new conditions proposed would be to transfer the existing CUP to the new owner, which would be Waypro LLC, but also to allow their tourist rooming house rental properties use of the golf course facility. Currently, Waypro does not own 8 tourist rooming house facilities, but if they were to acquire more, they would like to have the ability for those tourist rooming house guests to also use the facilities. As of right now, there are 3 included rental properties that the Waypro LLC owns. This would still be viewed as a private golf course facility. The current facility features 3-hole golf course, a 20 by 24 cart barn, and a 14 by 20 clubhouse with attached deck. The guests of the tourist rooming house properties would need to book special use of the facility if approved. In order for the original conditions to be amended, it would also require both Town of Hayward and Sawyer County Zoning Committee approval. The potential amendments of the condition would be memorialized under the new conditional use permit number 25-039 as part of a list of potential conditions. And I did add an additional one. So if you are looking at the online version, I did add an additional one here. So no public use of the golf course facility. Conditional use permit goes with the current owner of the property and allows for up to 8 tourist rooming house property access to the golf course facility. Any change to these conditions would require an amendment to the conditional use permit. Must follow all other town, county, state, and federal laws and conditions. And then I have added number 4, that owner must provide addresses of the tourist rooming house rental properties to be kept on file with the zoning department. I do at this point have 3 identified tourist rooming house properties that would have access to said facility. As by action of the town board, they had tabled the decision. This is tabled by, I don't know if I need to read the names. They tabled the decision. Town board recommends table due to the fact that no one was present at either the plan commission or the town board meetings to discuss and answer the questions. There were 13 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. One was returned with objections. Did the committee have a chance to read that objection, or would you like me to read it into record?
I read it, Jay. Did everybody else read it?
Marshall, you did not have a chance to read this? You read it? All right. So the committee has acknowledged that they have read the objection to this. Therefore, be it incorporated into the record. That is all.
Okay. I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-039, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second? And a second by Mr. Magnuson to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-039. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is the applicant here? Step forward and talk to the committee, please. State your name and address for the record.
Devin Doler, 15948 Carroll Drive here in Hayward. I am a representative for WayPro. So what we're, as Jay mentioned, and a lot of you covered it very well, I am unsure of what the challenge is on it. I don't know if it's worried about parking issues or whatever it is. We do have ample parking in that space. It is a gated entry. Everything will be scheduled with our team, just as we do with our rental properties. Again, it's something that we won't allow the public to use. And again, it's only for our rental properties or for the owners and their private use, and just trying to get a transition to them. I think Jay covered it really well. I apologize for, I talked to Jay, I missed the town meetings. It was my mistake. Obviously we'll have to talk, may have to discuss more of that at a different time. But again, I don't really have a lot more to say other than if there's any questions for it from anybody.
Committee, you got any questions for the applicant? Skiriana? Bill, any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this CUP? Well, okay. Linda, state your name and address for the record.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, resident of the village of Birchwood. Over the last couple of years, I've been following Town of Hayward Plan Commission and town board meetings. And if I recall correctly, not that long ago, WayPro started construction of a large industrial or commercial building without getting a land use permit, and that had to come before the town. I have a real concern that the town is not allowed to ask questions and weigh in on this, and that you are conducting the hearing. And that I don't know how the county could enforce the conditions on properties that they do not even know exist yet. So right now, if there are 3 known properties, I think WayPro should list those properties and not make it blanket for any potential 5 other unknown properties that may appear in the future. Because at what point do you say that, yes, this is not open to the public? I just think a denial or a postponement until the town has a chance to weigh in, but I don't believe that it is ready to be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, sir, state your name and address, please.
Paul Peterman, 10130N Pearson Road, Hayward. I am a property owner in the Pine Cove Shores Homeowners Association. If you're all familiar with that development, there's 11 homes there. I am the president of Pine Cove Shores. I found it interesting that my wife and I, we received notice of this potential cup change, not because of our home right across the road from it in Pine Cove Shores, but because we own land across Highway B. So I found that very, very interesting that we were notified of that because of that piece of property across Highway B, but not because of our home that is right across South Shore Drive. None of the other homeowners in Pine Cove Shores were notified as well. So just stating that I found that to be quite peculiar, but it might explain why we were never notified originally when the Klungnesses were proposing this golf facility. Because we had no idea that it just kind of happened and showed up one day, and we're like, that's interesting. I have spoken with the other owners within Pine Cove Shores, and I can't speak for all of them. I have heard from all of them. I will tell you that the majority of the owners of Pine Cove Shores are not in favor of this due to potential increased traffic flow. We have a number of young kids that are out on the road. They go walk up to storage building areas. They got a play area up there and tennis courts and things. And so they're certainly not in favor of increased traffic. I heard a comment by the previous gentleman about plenty of parking. Well, the only parking there is, there is a gate, but the groundskeeper parks there. There's no other place to park. I mean, people be parking on the road. And I don't find that as a very suitable solution. In addition, and I want to read this for you, and I'm happy to share the material with you after the meeting if any of you would like. But there's a recent study done. It was just released a couple weeks ago by the Barrow Neurological Institute along with Mayo Clinic. And it is very, very interesting. But I'm going to read this to you. Looking at people living within 1 mile of a golf course, it was associated with a 126% increased odds of developing Parkinson's disease. Why is that? It's groundwater. It's the chemicals. It's a direct relation to what golf courses put into the ground. And that leaks out into your groundwater. And in fact, they said individuals living in water service areas with a golf course is vulnerable groundwater regions. I can't think of another area. You take a look at Hayward, Wisconsin. The crown jewels are our lakes. I've been bewildered ever since that golf course went in because I worked at a golf course as a kid, and the amount of chemicals that went into that, it was always astonished. And to allow a golf course to go in that close, for example, to Round Lake, or if it was Grindstone or Coudray, I mean, these are our jewels, and you allow that vulnerable groundwater to lead to an 82% greater odds of developing Parkinson's disease and cancers versus people that are living more than 2 miles away. So it's not only a safety issue from a traffic standpoint, but boy, we need to conserve and we need to protect our resources that make the Hayward area fantastic. Anybody would like any information on that study, I'm happy to share it with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of the CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of the CUP? Okay, if none, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-039.
I'll make that motion.
There was motion by Mr. Carrie Heinen, and a second by Mr. Savitsky to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-039. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Hayward conditional use permit number 25-039, owner Waypro LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. This permit is desired for the amendment of conditional use permit number 18-002 for a new owner, but also to allow for up to 8 separate tourist rooming house properties, the ability to also book and rent the golf course facility. This is as per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.5, Parent B, Parent 20.
Okay, before we go any further with this, I'm a firm believer that towns weigh in, because myself, I'm a town board chair and I'm also chair of this, and I like their input. So I'm going to kind of turn this over to Rebecca for some deliberation on this.
Sure. Let's start with options. You obviously have the option to approve the CUP, taking into consideration the information you heard in the public hearing and the information included in the packets. You can, or you have the option to deny the CUP, again, based on the evidence in front of you. You may table this to a date certain and then request either of the applicant or Jay and his staff to provide new or additional significant information. And when I say significant, I mean if you have specific questions, give Jay an opportunity to address those questions and get that additional information. That would also allow for the town to weigh in. Did the town did it not make their agenda, or did they?
The applicant wasn't present, so they tabled the application.
Okay, so it was on their agenda. They could have taken action, but the applicant wasn't present. Okay, so the town could have weighed in if they so chose to.
Correct, but I believe they were looking for additional information from the applicant, which wasn't able to be provided at that time.
Got it. Okay. So those are really your three, procedural options. Keep in mind that if you were to approve or deny the requirements of 5969(5)(e), which requires substantial evidence to substantiate your decision, some of the comments you heard in public comment, such as what Waypro applicant has done with other properties, I question whether that would be substantial evidence that you should rely on. And furthermore, with respect to adding additional short-term rental properties to be able to use this facility, keep in mind that your CUP conditions are not going to be regulating and can't regulate those other properties. Your conditions would be able to regulate what happens on this property. So just, again, word of caution as you're taking those elements into consideration. What would be substantial evidence, in my opinion, are items like parking. Is there sufficient number of parking spaces on the site to accommodate this proposed use? Having the addresses of what those identified other properties are, that would be appropriate, but again, considering you can't regulate what those properties are. Jay and I had talked about adding a condition that if new properties were added to that, a property list, that the applicant would have to provide his office notice. And then also one important factor is that this was brought in front of you as an amendment to the conditional use permit. But the elements of the application process and the legal elements that you need to go through are the same as if it were a new conditional use permit. So we're checking all of the procedural boxes in that conditional use process. So I just wanted to mention that in case there are any questions that you had of the amendment process versus, a new conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you. All right, committee, we're gonna turn it over to you.
What are the conditions from the original CUP? Because we would just be adding to, that would still be enforced.
Yeah, per the 2018 conditional use permit, motion by Paulson to approve with conditions that the application be held by the current owner and not the land. Second by Buckholz. All in favor? That's all.
So then at this point in time, you could certainly add to those conditions. And that condition is obviously a moot point because the original applicant has transferred the property. So you're building new conditions.
Right.
Can I make motion to table this until the town board has a chance to hear the information that they want to hear so they can give us their opinion on this?
Okay,
I'd second that.
all right. We have a motion by Mr. Magnuson and a second by Ms. Wilson to table CUP number 25-039 until the town of Hayward has a chance to review it before their board.
As part of discussion, just so I'm clear, do we just hold a discussion action item on this? Or do we hold this as a separate public hearing again as well?
No, you can hold it as just the discussion action.
Is that what this committee would want? Is that you would just want it as a discussion action and taking in the information from the town? Or would you want it to be opened back to a public hearing for any new
No,
information?
I think, we should just have it weighing in on what the town says. We don't need another public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And on that point too, keep in mind that the public can still speak.
Speak, yes.
It's not a legal public hearing, but, neighbors and others that want to speak on the application may still do so at the next meeting.
So we're tabling this to win.
I would hope that the town of Hayward has this on their agenda for July, so I would have your date certain as the July zoning committee meeting.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to table CUP number 25-039. Any more discussion? Not, roll call, Kathy, please.
Dale Magnuson,
Yes.
Kay Wilson,
Yeah. Yes.
Marshall Savitsky, Ron Buckhold,
Yes.
Steve Carrianen.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor.
Moving on, this is a public hearing in the town of Sand Lake, conditional use permit number 25-040, owner Charles and Mary Markham, part of government lot 8, lot 2 of CSM number 107, parcel 02693806580, which is tax ID 27668, is 1.66 total acres on residential, recreational 1 and forestry 1. Permit is desired for the 40 by 40 storage building, 19 feet in height with concrete slab per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2 and Parent 3 with automatic conditions. This is located across a town road, which is Sisebagama Road, from where the primary dwelling is located on one individual parcel of land. Per my staff report, again, permit is desired for a 40 by 40 storage building. As part of the automatic conditions, when we look at 4.26, Parent 2, the accessory structure cannot be constructed in that part of the parcel containing the principal structure due to the inability to meet setbacks. A 40 by 40 accessory structure would be able to fit on the lakeside portion containing the dwelling. However, as Parent B, on lakefront parcels, this may be allowed an exemption under 4.26, Parent 2, Parent A, if the town and zoning committee determines in their findings of facts that placement of the accessory structure on that parcel divided by the public roadway that does not contain the principal structure lessens the impervious surface impact runoff to the lake. The proposed structure could fit on the lakeside parcel. However, the proposed location would lessen the impervious surface impacts. The proposed new structure would be approximately 490 feet away from the ordinary high water mark of Sisebagama Lake. The proposed adjacent parcel is within 66 feet of the parcel containing the principal structure. This is actually as the same parcel of land. It is just divided by a public roadway. That the proposed adjacent parcel meets the minimum square footage. Again, this proposed structure would meet all applicable setbacks. That the conditional use permit may be approved by the zoning committee in any zone district, provided that the town has approved the conditional use permit placement, and that a deed restriction or lot binding agreement is recorded so the lots cannot be sold separately. This is not applicable in this case, in that it is the same parcel of land. Section 4.26 parent 3 still applies though for prior conditional use permit approvals. And then in a platted subdivision, the max size is 1,200 square feet. This is not within a platted subdivision. The proposed size is 1,600 square feet and to be less than 19 feet in height. Again, the applicant is requesting to build an accessory structure of 1,600 square feet on the backside of Sissebagamon Road from where the primary dwelling is located. The applicant would not be allowed to create habitable living area within the accessory structure and may not contain beds, bedrooms, or kitchen facilities. In order for this to occur, the property owner would in order for this to be a primary dwelling or a habitable dwelling, the property owner would actually need to rezone that portion of the property and actually split the lot into 2 separate lots. That is not their intent. The current primary dwelling is located on the same parcel of land, but it is divided by a town road. The proposed garage, again, could fit on the lakeside portion, but it would be lessening the impervious surface impacts on the backside, and that would be approximately 490 feet away from the water. It would meet all the other requirements of section 4.26 parent 2 and parent 3 of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance, and it is not located on within a platted subdivision. As a list of my potential conditions as part of the approval, again, no habitable area to be allowed within the structure, including beds, bedrooms, or kitchen facilities. No commercial use or operations allowed within the structure. Size of the proposed accessory structure not to exceed 1,600 square feet in size and less than 19 feet in height. Must follow all other town, county, state, federal laws, regulations, and conditions, including additional town driveway permits and applicable sanitation requirements if pressurized water or plumbing fixtures are installed within the proposed accessory structure. Sawyer County land use permit is required prior to the construction of the garage, and that the CUP goes with the property. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. Robert Langham, town chair, Michael Ruscio, supervisor, George Sedvey, supervisor. No problems. Signed Elaine Nyberg, town clerk. 14 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 were returned. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Jay. I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-040, please.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Magnuson to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-040. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-040. Are the applicants here? State your name and address for the record, please.
Charles and Mary Markham from N210 Liberty Lane, Appleton, Wisconsin. And this is our lakefront property. I think Jay pretty well outlined it. We did, as mentioned, meet with the town board last week and gain their approval. As we're looking to basically move a lot of our main storage items, boats, et cetera, off our main lot to get it into the storage area. So we kind of clean up that portion of it. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay. Committee got any questions for the applicant? Mr. Kariana?
Would you be moving stuff from one side of the road to the other on
No,
a basis?
No, right now it's just, we got a pontoon boat that we recently purchased. So it's just mainly storage over there. So it's really getting that off the lot of the main area. So cleaning that portion up. So nothing moved.
And I think we get a sense that having this structure across the road would probably be beneficial in terms of having less impervious surface close to the lake.
Correct. And as mentioned, while we could build it there, I mean, I think we would take too much trees and everything off the main property and it would be crowded. So we're trying to look to maximize the property for all the surrounding area, especially on the lakefront side. And again, move it across on the other side from a storage perspective, just to not do anything with our main lot.
So you're looking at probably enhancing the property value by not cluttering up that
Correct,
part of the
correct.
lot close to the lake. So it's kind of careful planning and efficient maintenance of the property. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Zilmer?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, resident of the village of Birchwood. I was present at the Sand Lake meeting, and the town did have a chance to ask questions. And so I hope the conditions are still that there would be no future habitable living area or overflow sleeping. But for this one and another one, I want to point out that section 4.26 of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance is intended for accessory buildings. It says accessory structures, but if you read through the whole thing, it has to do with accessory buildings. And I believe probably the reason they said structures is so that they did not have to spell out garage, pole barn, storage shed. And because if you read through the section about 4.26, I don't think I've ever seen a CUP that came here that requested to have a deck across a town road from a principal dwelling. And I don't think I've ever seen a request for a deck to be built on vacant land for just no reason. Decks are not to be covered in 4.26, and this is part of the reason why this is the appropriate use for this. And during public comment, ask that you bring back the matter that was mistakenly heard in the past. Or I should say, it was heard, but the decision, I believe, was a manifest error. Thank you.
You bet, thank you. All right, anyone else want to speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in opposition of the CUP? Not? Need a motion to come out of CUP number 25-040, please.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-040. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Sand Lake, conditional use permit number 25-040, owner Charles and Mary Markham. Legal description as previously read into record. Request is for the placement of a 40-by-40 storage building, 19 feet in height, across a town road from where the primary dwelling is located, per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2, Parent 3. While keeping in mind my list of potential conditions is listed in my staff report, as well as the findings of fact, specifically including but not limited to that the placement of the accessory structure across a town road would lessen the impervious surface impacts to the water.
Okay. All right, committee, turn it over to you.
I'll make a motion to approve this CUP with the conditions 1 through 6 and findings of fact. 1, placement of accessory structure would lessen impervious surface. 2, promote the public health, safety, and convenience of general welfare. 3, encourage planned and orderly land development. And 8, encourage uses of land and other natural resources which are in accordance with their character and adaptability.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson
And I'll second.
and a second by Mr. Magnuson to approve CUP number 25-040 with the conditions and the findings of facts as stated. Any more discussion? Not? Roll call, Kathy, please.
Kay Wilson,
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky,
Yes.
Dale Magnuson, Steve Carriennen,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
all in favor. Thank you.
So
Moving on, this is a public hearing, the town of Lenroot, conditional use permit number 25-041, owner Perry Nelson, part of the northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter. Section 34, Township 42 North, Range 9 West, parcel 014-942-344106, tax ID 18664. There's 1.39 total acres, zone residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for the 1-story, 40 by 80 storage shed, as per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2 and Parent 3. No plumbing is to be included within this. This is located across the town road, which is Ewig Road, from where the primary dwelling is located on one parcel. Very similar request to what we just heard, slightly larger in size, but the accessory structure in this case could not be constructed in that parcel containing the principal structure due to the inability to meet setbacks. A 40 by 80 accessory structure would not be able to fit on the lakeside portion of the property containing the dwelling due to the inability to meet setbacks, as well as the alternative drain field locations. It would also lessen the impervious surface impacts being further away from the lake. Again, the proposed structure could not fit on the lakeside parcel. Additionally, though, the proposed new structure would be approximately 486 feet from the ordinary high water mark of Nelson Lake. The proposed adjacent parcel is within 66 feet. Again, this is the same parcel of land, but it is divided by a public roadway. The proposed adjacent parcel meets the minimum square footage requirements per the zone district and meets all other zoning ordinance requirements. The proposed structure would meet all of those requirements. Other accessory structures do exist on the backside of Ewig Lane in this area. Several other CUPs have been recently approved in this area for the same request. The conditional use permit may be approved by zoning committee in any zone district. Would need to have a deed restriction or lot binding agreement. This is not applicable in this case in that it is the same parcel of land, but section 4.26 parent 3 still applies for the prior approval of conditional use permit. This is not within a platted subdivision. Again, the requested size is not to exceed 3,200 square feet. I have here in less than 19 feet in height, but I'm not sure if we have determined a height. We may want to ask the applicant on this one. I have a feeling it might be higher than 19 feet in height, but it is a condition that it is to be 1 story. Again, the applicant is requesting to build an accessory structure 3,600 square feet in size on the backside of Ewig Lane from where the primary dwelling is located. Conversations with the applicant, this accessory structure is to be used as a storage area for vehicles and other recreational equipment such as boats and equipment. The applicant would not be allowed to create habitable living area within the accessory structure and may not contain beds, bedrooms, or kitchen facilities. The current primary dwelling is located on the same parcel of land, but it is divided by a public town roadway. The proposed garage could not fit on the lakeside portion, and the proposed location would lessen the impervious surface impacts. Property is not located in a platted subdivision, and it would meet all other setbacks. No pressurized water or plumbing fixtures are proposed for the requested accessory structure. As part of my staff report, is a list of potential conditions: that no habitable area is allowed within the structure, including beds, bedrooms, and kitchen facilities. No commercial use or operation is allowed within the structure. Size of the proposed accessory structure not to exceed 3,600 square feet and not to exceed 1 story. Again, no loft areas. Again, I wouldn't put a height on it until you would hear from the applicant, depending on what he wants for the pitch of the roof. But definitely that it's not to exceed the 1 story. Must follow all other town, county, state, federal laws, including additional town driveway permits and applicable sanitation requirements if pressurized water is to be anticipated. That a Sawyer County land use permit is required prior to the construction of the garage, and that the CUP goes with the property. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Gordy Christian, town chair, Michael Bandro, supervisor, Jack Schusum, supervisor, Brent Danielson, supervisor, Jason Schusum, supervisor, approved. Signed, Robert Huberthold, town clerk. There were 9 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent properties. No additional comments were received. That is all.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-041, please. Ms. Wilson.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Savitsky, you second that motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-041. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-041. Are the applicants here? All right.
Barry Nelson, 1780 North 130th Avenue, Falcon, Wisconsin is my home address.
What's the height gonna be?
I was torn between a 10-foot or 12-foot sidewall, and I'm not exactly sure what the height is going to be, but no more than that for the sidewall height.
Is that gonna be a problem, Jay?
You don't necessarily need to condition heights. I would certainly recommend that you would condition that it is 1 story, that no loft areas are created.
Definitely that. It'll no loft.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you much.
Anyone out there want to speak in favor of the CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of the CUP? If none, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-041, please. Mr. Savitsky.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-041. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Lander, conditional use permit 25041, owner Perry Nelson. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is for a 40 by 80 storage shed, 1 story in height, as per the Story County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2, Parent 3. Keeping in mind the list of possible conditions included in my staff report, as well as findings of facts.
All right, committee, turn it over to you.
Make a motion to approve CUP-041, conditions 1 through 6, findings of facts 1 through 4 and 8. I have to list them off, read them.
I would read them,
too.
yes.
I would read them, and then if you have just a brief comment on why the information that you heard today to substantiate those findings of fact.
1, for placement of accessory structure across town road would lessen impervious surfaces, impacts up to the water, promote the health, safety, and convenience of the general welfare of that area by having the structure across the road from the actual lake lot. Number 3, encourage planned orderly use of land development. As stated, they're going to build without, or 1 story without a area to live above the garage or accessory structure. And then protect property values and property tax base by having that accessory structure across the road from their house, getting more foliage and such on their lake lot.
Got that, Kathy?
Yes.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky with the findings of fact and the possible conditions, and a second by Mr. Magnuson to approve CUP number 25-041. Any more discussion? If none, roll call, Kathy, please.
Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Steve Carrianen.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Yes.
Kay Wilson.
Yeah.
All in favor, thank you.
Moving on, this is a public hearing in the Town of Hayward, conditional use permit number 25-042, owner SMM Properties LLC, care of David Farley, part of the southwest 1 quarter, the northeast 1 quarter, the northwest 1 quarter, the southeast 1 quarter, parcel 0109412811311, which is tax ID 12922. It is 1.149 total acres, zone commercial 1. Permit is desired for the new or used car sales establishment as per the Story County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.6, Parent B, Parent 12. As part of my staff report, it was recently brought to the attention of the Story County Zoning and Conservation Department that this property is engaged in an operation of a used car sales dealership. This type of use would ultimately require the prior granting of approval of a conditional use permit from Story County Zoning Committee. In conversations with Wisconsin DOT, they received the necessary state permits to do this as a used car sales dealership, but on one of the forms, it requires municipality approval, and it appears that the city of Hayward signed off on this permit. However, this property is located in the town of Hayward, which falls under the county's jurisdiction. Property is located off of Highway 63, immediately adjacent to the city of Hayward. as part of the city limits there. The conditional use permit would be requesting for the location operation of a new used car sales establishment, again, per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.6, Parent B, Parent 12. In conversations with the applicant, the maximum number of vehicles that would ever be for sale at any given time would be 48. Applicant would also need to abide by all other Wisconsin Department of Transportation requirements, including hours of operation. That is to say that other state agencies have other regulations as it permits or pertains to this type of use. As a list of possible conditions, I did make one amendment to my list of possible conditions. That would be as to number 3. So, but here I would have as that Sawyer County land use permit is required for a new business in the existing structure with appropriate fees if the conditional use permit is approved. That the property not contain more than 48 vehicles offered for sale at any given time. And that number 3, that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed, including Wisconsin Department of Transportation regulations, rules, hours of operation, and WISDOT policies. All vehicles are to be stored, parked, or offered for display specifically at this property location, including no vehicle parking within the state highway right-of-way, and that the conditional use permit is to go with the property. Any changes to these conditions would require additional conditional use permit approval. By action of the town board, the action was tabled. The town board recommended tabling this due to the fact that the applicant or the representative failed to attend either the plan commission or the town board meeting to provide information or answer to questions, signed in hand. The city of Hayward was also given notification of this and that the request is within 1.5 miles of the city limits. The city did approve the request. Gary Gillis, Mayor, Lisa Poppy, city clerk. They have no issues with this. There were 11 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 additional comments were received. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Just one quick question for Rebecca. Now that the city had signed on this instead of the town, does that have any influence on how we should decide this? When it comes to that part of it?
No,
Okay.
because we don't know if it was intentional by the applicant to get the city's sign off versus the appropriate municipal sign off. That would be
Okay.
speculatory. And, you know, still being a fan of DOT, I can say that it's DOT's obligation to check those municipal approvals. And I know in their dealership section, they take that very seriously. So I'm surprised that this happened. So given those 2 items,
All right.
look at, you know, the facts in front of you right now as they stand.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-042, please.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mr. Savitsky, the second by Mr. Hankinson to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-042. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-042. Are the applicants here? I'll step forward and talk to the committee. State your name, please. Address.
I'm David Farley, 16150 W Deer Lane, Hayward, Wisconsin, 54843. I didn't know I had a town meeting to go to, so my stupidity for that, but same thing with when I did the application, just thinking I was in the city, I filled it out as a city. I have several buildings in the city and out of the city, so that was my accident for that, so.
Great. Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Savitsky? Oh, Mr. Karainen.
Will you be doing anything other than buying and selling vehicles here? Will you be maintaining or repairing vehicles at this location?
Not there.
Not there.
Nope, it'll just be selling. We clean them in the back, and then I have another shop where we're gonna be doing the mechanical work. So, pretty much just buying and selling.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
What are your hours of operation?
8 to 4, and I do a lot of, by appointment. So
And
if,
what type of lighting do you have on the lot?
just standard lighting off the buildings.
Not all the whole, like,
I do have a pole with a sign, and then I got security and lighting that comes off the building onto the parking lots. Not real bright, put it that way.
Okay, any more questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Ms. Zilmer?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, resident of the Village of Birchwood, not speaking in favor or opposed, but I want to speak to my public comment again about the public notice that shows up either on the county website with the details or in the newspapers. We've had 2 applicants here today, as well as an applicant for a variance at the BOA who did not show up. So communications, I think, are critical. And I would hate to think that with a pattern of, well, gee, I missed the town plan commission and I missed the town board decision, maybe I can just come to the zoning committee directly and get a decision. So being that it's happening more frequently, I'm raising that as a consideration. And in the future, is it an option that when something like this has happened, before taking all the public testimony, also consider postponing holding the hearing until you've heard from the town? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this CUP? Not? I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-042, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Savitsky, a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-042. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action for conditional use permit 25-042 located in the town of Hayward. Owner SMM Properties LLC, care of David Farley. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances Appendix D, Section 17.6, Parent B, Parent 12 for a new used car sales establishment. And keeping in mind the conditions as listed in my staff report and findings of facts.
Okay. All right, committee, turn it over to you.
are they able to continue their business without this approval?
DOT is aware of the situation, and this was a month and a half that I talked with someone at DOT. They were kind of waiting to see what happened through local governments before they would end up doing something here. So they're watching to see what happens. Now, ultimately, if this is tabled again, I would probably notify DOT that that this hasn't been approved yet. You did hear that the town of Hayward did table the request. And I would reiterate, what Rebecca said before as part of your options. One of the other options that wasn't listed by Rebecca is that you can still approve and make another condition that it also be contingent upon town of Hayward approval. If you did not want to hear this again as either a public hearing or have additional discussion action, in essence, table this to hear from them, that is another option that you have.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one myself.
Yeah. And, I've looked over and over at the letters that we send out to applicants when they submit for conditional use permit or rezone. And I mean, it is highlighted in bold that you should reach out to your respective town, as you may be required to attend the town plan commission and town board meeting. Here's the number for your town clerk. I'm not sure why applicants are not attending those meetings. I'm interested to hear, other things that we can do to make sure that they are, reaching out to their respective towns, but it is highlighted in bold in the letter that they received that you are required to attend these, contact your town boards to figure out when the dates and times of those meetings are. Each town has different dates and times, and it's hard to keep track of those, but in bold, we give them, reach out to the town of Leonard, reach out to the town of Hayward, reach out to the town of Meadowbrook with the town clerk's information. So if there's a different practice that should be being used by our office, I'm all ears, but some of that due diligence has to go back on the applicant as well.
So, just listening to this and in the town of Hayward, I think we should look at this one the same as we did the first one in the town of Hayward, but I'm turning it over to the committee for their decision. Mr. Magnuson.
I make a motion to approve CUP 25-042 with listing the possible conditions. Number one, that the new business has appropriate fees. Number two, property contain no more than 48 vehicles. Number three, that they followed DOT regulations. Number four, vehicles are parked and stored, displayed on this property, and are not on the right of ways. Number five, any changes would approve additional DOT approval. And number six, that the condition of Hayward, town of Hayward approval. And following the findings of facts that would promote public safety and welfare, convenience. It'll encourage the development of this property. And number six, that it recognizes the needs of businesses for future growth.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
My only concern with making the condition of approval of the town is, what if the town doesn't approve? Would this committee want to hear the matter again? Because legally, town approval is not required for a conditional use permit under your ordinances. Now, I understand and fully respect the deference that you want to give town decisions. But there may be a situation, if a town denies a conditional use permit, that this body feels it's still appropriate to issue it. So I don't know, Jay, if you have any thoughts on that either.
I guess the only thought would be, would the applicant be agreeable to those conditions?
That they okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you
Either way,
go.
I'm fine with.
Because you'd heard on the record, the applicant is agreeable to those conditions. If the town of Hayward denies this, the conditional use permit is denied. In essence, he's not able to meet the conditions as set forth that he agreed to.
Mhm.
Well,
So you're out of business then.
Step up to the mic, sir, please.
I mean, kind of tricked him there a little bit, but that was.
what I was thinking is, if it was something where you guys had to table it kind of until they okayed it, is
Yeah,
what I would agree to, I guess.
all right.
Because it's been a retail building since it was built. So the only difference is I guess it's cars. It's been 3 or 4 different businesses since. So it's always been, I guess it's always been something, someone was always selling something there. And the only difference is it's cars instead of lights or dresses or whatever.
Yeah, okay. All right. We have a motion by Mr. Magnuson, a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve CUP number 25-042 with the findings of facts and possible conditions and approving the COP upon the town of Hayward's approval. Did I state that right? Okay. Any more discussion? Not? Roll call, Kathy.
Marshall Savitsky,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
No.
Kay Wilson. Dale Magnuson. Steve Carriennen.
Yes.
4-1 in favor.
All right, thank you. Thanks, committee. Number 5. Jay,
Do you want to go into number 5 right away? Would you like to take a?
let's take a little. Committee, so we're gonna go on to number 5, Jay.
Yes. Number 5, proposed ordinance amendment. This is a public hearing, Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, amendment to Section 2.0 definitions and Section 6.610, Parent 1 and Parent 2 of trailer camps and campgrounds. The proposed ordinance amendment is in reference to camping cabins within licensed campgrounds. The proposed ordinance amendments can be found on the Sawyer County Zoning and Conservation website. I also do have several copies here available if anyone wants. This is per option F. This has been going on for several months here now. Initially, we heard requests from property owners of Lake Chippewa Campground that were proposing to this committee to look at changes in the campground portion of the Sawyer County ordinance. Their initial proposal, again, was to look at the current prohibition of gas, water, and sewer as it relates to camping cabins. When we started to do a kind of a deeper dive into this, we found that that prohibition of a 30% max on camping cabins and park model trailers was never properly adopted into ordinance form. So last time we had sent this out to the towns, it was denied as the proposed changes, and we heard a lot back from the towns that they wanted that 30% re-added back in there, and that is what option F seeks to do. I'm looking at my responses. Just don't have any of the marks. Oh, the right thing. So we did get the responses back. So there are 16 towns in Sawyer County. 15 of those towns are regulated under Sawyer County zoning jurisdiction. The town of Spider Lake controls and maintains their own zoning jurisdiction. So out of the 15 towns that are part of Sawyer County zoning jurisdiction, we have 8 in favor of the request, 7 denied of the request, and I'm sorry, it would be 6. 8 approve, 6 denied. The town of Spider Lake did deny, but again, they are not part of the Sawyer County zoning jurisdiction. And we have 1 no action as the town of Meteor. I'm going to go through and read the responses from each individual town, and then we can open up the official public hearing process for those wanting to make additional comments. Town of Bass Lake denied. The town would like to have a condition that there is a central septic system. That would be a requirement if you're going to install pressurized water that ends up going with DSPS, which falls under Sawyer County as the agent of the state. So these would have to be hooked to code compliant sewer systems. But the town of Bass Lake did deny. Town of Coudray denied, no additional comments. Town of Draper denied, concerns regarding environmental impact, concerns regarding the existing camping cabins that are not being regulated. Town of Edgewater denied. Motion by Pete to deny the proposed amendments. Second by Jamie Scar, comments against the fact that the concrete, they are permanent, and also against 30% for park models. So the town of Edgewater also previously denied option, the first option we sent out to them While yes, the town of Edgewater denied, I think they're actually wanting less prohibitions than what is stated because they are against the 30%. I don't think they wanted the 30% in there, but it does still go down as a denial. Town of Hayward approved, town board to accept option F as written, strictly enforcing the 30% threshold. Town of Hunter denied, improper to add a restriction of 30% limitation of camping cabins and park models to a definition. Well, yes, it is in the definition. It is also in the section of 6.6. So the general rule of thumb is you don't put prohibitions in a definition, you put it in the meat of an ordinance. It's in both for the duplicity and the understanding that there is to be this 30% limitation. Improper to combine camping cabins and park model trailer RVs. Local codes cannot apply to camping units as SPS 327 is a uniform statewide code, thus a municipality may not adopt an ordinance on any subject falling within the scope of the code. Adding a slab makes the camping cabin a permanent structure. That again was Town of Hunter. Town of Lenroot approved. 4 members in favor, 1 member opposed. Motion approved as passed. Town of Meadowbrook approved. Town of Meteor did not act on this. Town of Ojibwa approved. Town of Radisson approved. Town of Round Lake approved. Additional comments. Town board voted to approve the amended. However, the board wishes to express the following concerns and point out clarification regarding the record. Definitions needed clarification. While the town board supports the overall intent of the amendments, particularly the reduction or reintroducing of the 30% maximum of camping cabins and park models, it believes that a more precise definition are needed for camping cabins, park model trailers, and transient campers. Without clear definition, there is a risk of inconsistent interpretations and enforcement across the county. Guidelines for temporary placement. The town board notes the need for additional clarity regarding temporary placement of camping cabins and park models. It is unclear what qualifies as temporary versus permanent use, including duration limits, seasonal use provisions, or requirements for removability outside of the camping season. Number 3, consistency in foundation and slab language. Town board notes inconsistencies in the language related to foundations and slab requirements between camping cabins and park model trailers. On subsection 6.610 parent 1 prohibits permanent foundations for camping cabins but allows a 4-inch slab. Subsection 6.610 parent 2 for park model trailers prohibits foundations entirely but does not mention the allowance or prohibition of a 4-inch slab. By definition, this is me just reiterating this point. By definition, a park model trailer does need to remain on its chassis. It cannot be on any type of foundation or slab. This difference may create confusion or suggest unequal treatment of similar situated structures. The board believes the language should clearly indicate whether both types of units are permitted to use a 4-inch slab or if this standard only applies to camping cabins. The concerns are submitted to the Sawyer County Zoning Committee's awareness and consideration as part of the ordinance amendment process. So that is something where if we want to add additional language, something, minute and does not have a, what's the word? Material change. We could add language into park model trailers that, that no foundation or slab is allowed. That would solidify those concerns of the town around Lake. Town of Sand Lake denied, same as last proposal. Well, it's not, it has changed. Town of Spider Lake, again, not part of Sawyer County zoning jurisdiction, but they denied with additional comments. Well, the town of Spider Lake does not fall under the jurisdiction of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance. The opportunity to provide comments is appreciated. Similar to option A proposal comments in April, the town of Spider Lake is concerned about the density of campsites, which could potentially offer small dwellings with utilities, septic systems, and additional impervious surfaces in the form of those slabs. There's provisions for enforcement of the 30% regulation or inspection of those structures, and no mention of limiting impacts to natural resources surrounding the campground. The option F proposal does not align with the Sawyer County comprehensive plans as part of the natural resources goals and objectives. It fails to exhibit any protections of natural resources where these camping cabins might be placed. Town of Weirgord approved. Town of Winter approved. That is all. I guess I would open it up to the committee if they have any additional comments, and then have the committee chair open it up to the official public hearing.
Jay, the comments from the town around Lake, the board only had the comment about slab and foundation. The other comments came from the plan commission, and I don't think should have been included in the findings that we presented.
So they're here. So.
You know, Jay, too, when this first come about, everything was sent out to the towns. When they come back to you or to the zoning, you reviewed the remarks that the town had put on there for this to go out as option F. Listening to what you just said, sounds like they have total different remarks than what come about the first time around.
Yeah, to a small degree. Some of the differences from the first time we heard a lot that the towns were wanting that 30% limitation added back in. Again, we've gone through in length that, it had formed in an ad hoc committee back in 2017 that they wanted this, 30% limitation in place for park model units. Inadvertently and really kind of dumbfounded to me. I was not involved in that process, but it was not properly adopted into ordinance form, yet it was in our master working copy for the last 8 years. But it was not ratified correctly. That is not the language that went to county board. So a lot of the responses that we got back with that option A is that towns wanted that 30% limitation added back in there. So that is what we did.
And we did.
And then there was also some clarification, as to, can a camping cabin have, some type of, solid base for it to be placed on? One of the things that we heard from the initial proposal or proposer of the ordinance amendment was that they wanted to, have this really kind of as vermin proof. If it was just on, on skids or, you had that lattice trim around the edge, that there would be critters getting up and in there. So they wanted to at least put this on some type of slab. Now, a slab is different than a foundation. A foundation is something that would be, yes, very more permanent in nature, and it's to the aspects of frost footing protection, so the thing doesn't shift, bend, and break. A slab is generally recognized as just a 4-inch piece of concrete that is poured so that you can set this on. Foundation would actually have frost footing for protection, which would be either 2 feet down and 2 feet out, or any combination of 4 feet for frost footing. So that language was, I guess, helped crafted by Mr. Phil Neese, in that that slabs would be acceptable, but foundations would not.
Okay, all right. I need a motion to go into public hearing for Sawyer County Code of Ordinance for trailer camps and campgrounds.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Kariainen to go into public hearing on trailer camps and campgrounds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak on this?
I do have a public hearing slip from Linda Zomer.
Okay.
She is online but is muted. I will read her comments that she has as part of her appearance slip. This is in regards to option F amendment. The towns with the largest campgrounds and those with several campgrounds, Hunter and Edgewater, denied. And then moratorium, zoning committee did not do its job. Definitions of slab, foundation, 30% limitation. Again, when I read as part of the intro as to the public hearing, The town of Edgewater did deny. However, I'll read verbatim again as to what they stated. Camping cabins within licensed trailers, comments against the fact that with concrete, they are permanent, and also against the 30% for park models. So they're against slabs, but they're also against having a 30% limitation.
30%, yeah.
And I would think that based on what they'd submitted last time, they didn't want to have any limitations on park models.
So Linda's muted?
Yes, and she would be available to unmute herself.
Well, I guess she ain't gonna be able to do it. You read what she wrote, so. Linda, are you there? Hello? All right. Anyone else want to speak? In favor? Anyone want to speak against? Huh?
Yeah, I've asked her to unmute and I can hear some type of audio, but.
Linda, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to register in opposition. I believe that there are several items that the committee didn't address, including UDC inspections required that when these camping cabins on a skid are set there, and that it requires more work, and possibly the reason I suggested a moratorium on campgrounds or camping on lots was to get all these answers in and then send something to the towns that everybody was clear on what it could be. And my biggest concern is I don't know that the 30% limitation is not just going to invite a legal challenge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else want to speak before we go out of public hearing? Not need a motion to go out of public hearing on the trailer camps and campgrounds.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on the trailer camps and campground ordinance. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing. Number I, option F, proposed. I guess we have to approve this again and send it on to the county board, right, Jay?
That would be the next step, yes.
Okay. All right. Turning it over to the committee.
I had a question. How does this 30% affect campgrounds in use right now?
It's a great question. So my understanding, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there were some campgrounds that were approved with the 30% limitation. And as we've talked about, that 30% limitation was not appropriately applied because the board never approved it. Someone in the zoning office, prior to Jay, made that change. Don't know if it was intentional, don't know if it was a mistake, but what we do know is what the board approved, and it was not the 30% limitation. So those conditional use permits have a 30% limitation that we thought was in the ordinance at that time. So the question becomes, are those conditional use permits subject to that 30% limitation? And that is a hard question because we don't know if the zoning committee at that time approved it because it was in the ordinance, again, mistakenly, or because they thought it was an important condition. Those conditional use permit holders, they don't have a vested right in that conditional use permit. However, they do have a significant property interest in that conditional use permit. So what I've advised Jay to do is that if one of those conditional use permit holders comes forward and questions that 30%, that we should talk. Because I highly question the enforceability of that 30% in those conditional use permits. Because again, it was not approved by the board. And I don't know how the county can hold someone to a requirement that was not legally approved.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would agree, and I'll be going back through, if this ordinance passes, and even to the extent, those other campgrounds that were approved 2017 till now, to see if there was a specific condition listed in there that had a 30% limitation. Because if that 30% limitation wasn't specifically addressed as a separate condition item, then I would agree that what was the theory behind the committee at the time that they approved that cup? Were they in the mindset that there would be a 30 or there wouldn't be a 30%? Unless there was a specific condition that stated the 30%, it would probably be at 100%. Saving grace, potentially, is if a campground came in to expand their number of sites requiring a new CUP, you then could apply the new potential ordinances in place at that point. Where if you want to expand and have an additional 12 sites, we're going to put a limitation that your total campground now is limited to 30%. And if they don't agree with that, well, then they don't get their additional sites. So,
Okay. All right.
that's a saving grace, I suppose, but
And
yeah.
then I had a question about the park models and slabs. Do they, as a campground, have a slab for a park model now? Or is it?
No, they don't. And I did read those, elements, whether it was from the town board or the town plan commission. I think that would be actually great language to add. So if you look at 6.610 parent 2 park model trailers, you go to the second sentence, the chassis must remain on wheels and no more than 400 square feet in size and setup mode. The construction of a foundation underneath shall be prohibited. I think we should add the construction of a foundation or slab is prohibited. I think that would clear it up. The intent was that the park models would not have any kind of concrete base under them. They generally are placed on some type of gravel pad, but not on a slab or concrete. So, and I think that would not amount to a material change. It is clarification because we do talk about the difference of slab and foundation for camping cabins. And I think, again, for park model trailers, we can say that the construction of a foundation or slab underneath shall be prohibited. Now, if we were to make a motion of approval of this to go to county board, you would want to have that language in there as part of your motion. That way I can add it in and send it to county board with those changes. And again, I would be under the realm that that is not a material change that would have to go back.
So what happens if it don't pass this committee to go to the county boards? Do it all over again? I'm just
If it
throwing
doesn't,
that out.
if the committee denies the proposal, I'm not picking this back up. I mean, there's no reason to.
I know, and I agree, Jay. Well, you've been working on this for a long time. Yes, go ahead, Rebecca.
You get to hear from me more since I'm here face to face. I just want to say and clarify, given the challenges that the county has had in moving zoning ordinances ahead to your board for consideration. Under the statutes, under 5969, I believe it's sub 4, the process is that if the county board approves the zoning ordinance change, the towns have an opportunity to object. So I agree with the county's process that you gather the town approvals on the front end. I think that's a fine process from a legal standpoint. But again, I just want to point out that that is not technically what the statutes require. Any questions on that? I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Magnuson.
Well, with the conversation here, I'd be inclined to I believe there's probably a lot of existing campsites out there or campgrounds already that have their park models parked on a cement slab, or blacktop, you know, or gravel. But a lot of them probably have a concrete slab already. A lot of existing campgrounds, their campers, in fact, a lot of the regular campsites just have a concrete slab for the convenience of the customer already. A lot of the existing campgrounds already have that. And a lot of them probably are already over the 30% in park models, you know, already. So I'd be inclined to, you know, I don't see you're providing the campgrounds providing the convenience for the customer to be able to park his park model on a level site where he can block it up level. That's a convenience that the campground owner is providing for the customer. It's not to put it on a permanent foundation. It's just convenience, just like a blacktop road is convenience over gravel. You know, so I don't know why we would restrict the campground owner from providing a slab or blacktop for the camper to be parked on, whether it's a park model or just a regular pull behind camper, or if it's a cabin. You know, so I don't know why we restrict that from the owner. And the 30%, like I said, it's some people might be required for that, some people not. I think it should just be left out of there. Just take it out. That'd be the simplest. Let the market trend decide what goes in the campground. Is
Take the 30% out is what you're saying?
Take it out. It's because it wasn't put in properly to begin with. It's like our legal counsel says, some of them might be legally held to that and some might not. That's an issue. Let's leave it out. Then it's not a legal issue anymore. And then and just put that the campground owner can provide a concrete slab for the trailer to be parked on, you know. Not a foundation, just a slab or blacktop, you know. It's the road going to the site to park the thing, and that's it. You know, it's not a foundation. So I'd make a motion to approve this ordinance with the condition of taking off 30% thing and just putting in that the campground can provide us a concrete slab for the trailer to be parked on.
Okay. We have a motion. We're gonna have a second. I believe that we put the 30% back in there for a reason. And there were some of the towns that wanted it. And
Should do point of order. Do you have a motion without a second right now?
but it says, discussion.
Right, but you have a motion.
I know, yeah, that's right. Sorry. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Now you can discuss.
To me, this is just getting drug out too much on different things, and we're trying to make everybody happy, and we're not gonna make everybody happy. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve with what Mr. Magnuson put in there.
May I add just one thing?
Yes.
The first time we sent this out to the towns is option A. We did not have the 30% limitation in there. It was specifically taken off of it. The towns came back and were opposed to that, where again, several of those responses that came back is that the towns wanted the 30% limitation back in there. So that's where option F was derived from. I will kind of agree with Mr. Magnuson as far as the slab for a park model. I don't know if it makes a huge difference in that it still does have to have, the wheels, the chassis must remain on wheels. So it's still a mobile park model unit. the aspects of creating a slab for a level site, I mean, I can understand that. Because gravel or dirt over time is going to shift and move. And if you're able to, put a park model on a level slab. But again, the aspect of the 30% was something that the towns were against. They wanted that 30% in there the first time we sent it out to them, so.
Linda, I believe Linda said that the two towns with the largest amount of campgrounds, Edgewater and Hunter, didn't want the 30% in there.
Well, of course.
No?
Edgewater didn't. Hunter, maybe read
They
that.
denied.
Go ahead. Okay. Town of Hunter, improper to add a restriction of a 30% limitations of camping cabins and park models to a definition. Which again, it's in both, it's in definition and the meat. So I don't know exactly if they were just stating that it's improper to just add it in the definition portion, because again, you should not have restrictions included in definitions, but it was purposefully done in two places so that there was duplicity in that requirement. But I can't speak for the town of what they mean improper to add restriction of 30% limitations into the definitions. To me, it almost reads that they wanted it in the meat, which it is. It's in the main section of the ordinance as well.
And it come back with the towns, 8 are for option F, 6 are against. So 8 towns are for option F. I mean, that should be enough. Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that given the process that the county has followed, if you were to move this motion ahead, I would recommend that this go back to the towns, because the 30% change is a material change, particularly when the towns have already had the option without the 30% in it, and that was rejected. And I think, again, even though I explained what state law requires as to town approval of a zoning ordinance, the county has already commenced upon seeking town input thus far on this ordinance. And so I would really question making this material change and not sending it back to the towns. So just know that with the motion on the floor, I would also recommend that it go back to the towns for reconsideration. The other thing I will say is if you move it ahead without a material change, the board still has the authority to do what this motion proposes, but then we're going to have the same discussion at the board level as to whether to include it.
Okay.
In light of what I just heard, can I withdraw my second?
Yes.
You can.
Motion, call for a second.
Now we need to see it.
Do we have a second? Not, motion fails, right?
Correct.
So now we need a motion to approve that option. Have to go
Or
to
a
county.
motion to do something else, right?
Yep. So we need a motion now to either approve option F or do something else, or send it on to the county board as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve option F with that concrete pad that we mentioned before this conversation.
So that a foundation or slab,
Yeah,
the construction of a foundation or slab underneath shall be prohibited?
correct.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve option F with the change of removing the concrete slab. You said, Mr. Savitsky? Okay, with that. And forward it on to the county board. All right, any more discussion? If not,
Well,
go ahead.
There's park models out there on the concrete slab now. Well,
We're talking impervious surface.
Well, can they have be blacktop under it then, or? I mean, it's just a slab. It's just, you're not building the foundation. It's just a level surface. I don't understand.
The ones that currently exist would be grandfathered in at this point, right?
It would.
Okay, just moving forward then.
Moving
No
forward,
impervious surfaces.
yes. So, okay. Any more discussion? To send option F on to the Sawyer County Board of Supervisors. Roll call, Kathy.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Kay Wilson.
Yes.
Dale Magnuson. Marshall Savitsky.
Yes.
Steve Carriennen.
Yes.
4-1 in favor.
Yes, we are. We're next, yep.
So read your agenda.
Yep, I will. All right, number 6, consulting with legal counsel, various appeals of Sawyer County Zoning Committee decision and administrative appeals and other legal matters. Closed session, consultation to motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent G, conferring with legal counsel for governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it's likely to become involved. To wit, rendering advice and strategy for adopted litigation in the Sawyer, in which county is involved and likely become involved regarding appeals of Sawyer County Zoning Committee decisions and administrative appeals.
And before you ask for a motion
Yep.
to comply with most recent case law, I will also say that what is intended to be discussed, obviously, is attorney-client privilege, but there will be a discussion of the review to the Board of Appeals matters. There will be discussion on the legal standards that we have discussed previously and other matters that meet the definitions as set forth in the agenda. Now you may.
Okay, all right, I need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky. Do I have a second? And a second by Mr. Magnuson to go into closed session.
I would also say that for anyone who is listening online, when the committee comes out of closed session, you may rejoin the meeting. So if people get disconnected, you may rejoin the meeting once the closed session has concluded.
Yeah, so I will be removing those online from the actual meeting and you'll need to re-log in. And at that point, I will let you back in once we reconvene. There will not be a separate waiting room. You will actually be removed from the meeting. Thank you.
So, no, we need a motion to go into closed session.
We did.
Oh, we did, okay. All right, everybody's confusing me. Everybody's
I know I threw that in.
throwing stuff at me. Okay, all in favor, say aye to go into closed session. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now going to be in closed session. We got one more item before you guys take off.
Yep. Let the record reflect that we are back now into open session. Mike, would you be so kind as to grab the door in case anyone is out there? I don't think there is, but under new business, we have a solar moratorium proposal. Again, this is as new business. We would potentially have in the action item, discussion action item for next month as to potentially pass a solar moratorium and really, you know, I come from the aspect of as to why I'm looking at doing this is basically just to give me more time as to develop and, you know, create an ordinance for solar facilities. And when I talk about solar facilities, those would be as small scale solar facilities, large scale solar facilities, and potentially battery energy storage systems. I would not be looking at tackling any type of personal solar facility or personal solar panels, you know, residential use. I'm talking about use that is basically, you know, developed and implemented to sell back to the grid. This is, you know, personal use is something we've had for a long time. We actually got a letter from someone that they wanted me to read into record here. Most people observe and admit that the earth has been warming up and has more carbon dioxide in the air. Most people observe and admit that there are more tornadoes, flooding, and other storms which kill humans and other wildlife. Let's work with the sun, other humans on this earth, each other in Sawyer County to save lives. Hazel John Jack, greetings. At the age of 81, I'm not able to attend discussion in person or electronically. I've had solar power at my house in the woods in the town of Bass Lake. I could not afford grid hookup or monthly bills. I had power after storms when my neighbors did not. As a Quaker and humanist, I am relieved not to feel involved in wars or bullying for fossil fuels. So far, we are not grabbing or hoarding sunshine. So that again is someone on personal solar. And then I have one additional public comment to read on this as well. Moratoriums. We should also look at other moratoriums for campground expansions, data centers, livestock siting, landfills, and sanitation districts. I know one question was brought up by Supervisor Wilson, and I believe there was another member, I can't remember who, that attended a town's meeting in which you guys were kind of told that a moratorium for solar was not allowed, that you couldn't do it. I know Rebecca was looking into that a little bit more, and I think you came to the conclusion that maybe a town specifically couldn't adopt a moratorium on solar, but a county potentially still could.
We have 59.4 that says we cannot implement the development moratorium that's defined under chapter 6. That is a moratorium against rezone, against a rezone, a CSM or any other land division. So long as your solar moratorium is not one of those categories. And I would, I can work with Jay on narrowly crafting that moratorium. It is permitted. Now, Supervisor Wilson, it's my understanding that Bill, I always say his name wrong, Amachek, was the presenter on that. And I've presented with Bill before. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bill. So I shot him an email just saying, hey, this is my understanding of what, the county can do. And I haven't heard back, which I no fault to him at all. But because obviously if he has a different interpretation on what the county's rights are, I'd like to know that. But based on my interpretation, again, the county can do one.
So I'm going to have it on as a discussion action item. Ultimately, if this committee proceeds with approving a solar and battery energy storage system, BESS, you'll start to know it. It would end up still going to the county board for approval. And really what it would do is give me additional time to actually go through the adoption process of an ordinance. When we saw the amendment to camping cabins take nearly 6 months, and it's still not even approved by county board. So my fear is that, we have another solar company wanting to come in and build 40 acres of solar panels prior to us having an ordinance on the books. So that's my intent of wanting to, create this.
And I think we should, because I think it's going to become a big thing in the future.
Yeah, by Rice Lake. Mhm.
There's,
Yeah.
we work with,
You're all over the place.
if any of you are going to be attending the WCA conference in the fall, there is one breakout session. I will be presenting on solar regulation. Because there are so many, and the momentum at PSC right now is they are flying through. I will say that publicly. And counties are really behind the 8 ball, so I highly encourage you to develop the ordinance. Lots of legal restrictions on what you can do and the size, but we'll work.
Okay with that, right, committee?
Okay, that.
Yep, all right. All right. If nothing else, thank you, everybody. We're adjourned. Marshall, is this your phone number? Come and check it out for everybody.